Senate Democrats had the goal of passing major voting rights legislation by Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And although passing those bills is seeming less and less likely, Democratic leaders are still holding out hope. Vice President Kamala Harris pushed for the Senate to get the job done during a speech today.
It is time for the United States Senate to do its job. A landmark bill, as we all know, sits before the United States Senate. The Freedom to Vote John R. Lewis Act. This bill represents the first real opportunity to secure the freedom to vote since the United States Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act nearly a decade ago. And the Senate must pass this bill now.
Joining me now with more on the future of voting rights in Congress is House Majority Whip James Clyburn. Congressman Clyburn, welcome back to Red and Blue. The Vice President is still holding out hope that legislation can pass. Do you share her optimism?
Well, I'm holding out hope. I don't know the level of optimism that I have, especially as it relates to the next several days. But I do feel that people are beginning to understand that nobody's asking the Senate to give up the filibuster. We're asking the Senate to do for constitutional issues what we do for budget issues. We have not ruined the Senate by raising the debt limit without the filibuster, and we do not ruin the Senate when we allow the budget to be approved and accepted from the filibuster. The same ought to be with constitutional issues, especially like voting. We should not allow states like Georgia and Texas and Florida, states that tend to limit the participation of voters. We have states all over the country that says when a felon is finished with his or her debt to society, they can vote. But Florida has decided they should not vote. Georgia has decided to set up a little committee that can nullify elections if they don't like the results. What kind of stuff is that? Why would the United States Senate, especially Democrats in the Senate, go along with that sort of thing? We want to be able to pass legislation that would put a check on that kind of undercutting of our democracy.
Congressman, you told CNN you'd like people to stop looking at this as Democrats versus Republicans and instead see it as democracy versus autocracy. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that it's in autocratic countries that you have a little cabal that can say this election was illegitimate and we aren't going to pay any attention to it. We've never had that in this country. But we've now got an ex-president running around telling lies about the elections. No matter what anybody says, he continues to lie about it. We saw him on 2 days ago telling the same lie, and everybody knows it's not true. That's what they do in autocratic countries. And so if we do not check this guy, if we do not put in place safeguards of the vote, that is what we're going to have, an autocracy. I don't know why anybody gets the notion that just because we have a democracy today, it will be a democracy forever. No. Thomas Jefferson said to us, the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. Vigilance is what is needed.
Okay. Yeah, that's what
if we don't have it, we're going to lose this democracy.
Well, you speak with the president fairly regularly. His approval ratings have been declining since the United States withdrew from Afghanistan. What do you believe could reverse his poll numbers and boost Democrats' prospects going into the midterms?
He has to stay the course. He is going through a rough patch like the country is. He's going to come out of this on the other end in good shape, I think, provided that the people of goodwill in the society begin to speak up or stand up and speak out. We are shirking our responsibility. I've said, in all due respect, when the former president of the United States says that the media, the press, if you please, is the enemy of the people. Come on. Why would we let him say stuff like that, and people just yell and cheer, and we be quiet about it. The press all over this country needs to be exposing this stuff. And good people, we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday today. He told us in his letter from the Birmingham City Jail that he was coming to the conclusion that the people of ill will in our society are making a much better use of time than the people of goodwill. He also said to us that we cannot be silent when it comes to this. Martin Luther King Jr. in his letter said we are going to be made to repent, not just for the vitriolic words and deeds of bad people, but for the appalling silence of good people. The good people of this country have got to break their silence, got to speak out against this kind of undercutting of our democracy. And if we don't have a democracy, free enterprise system, every business in this country is going under. And you're going to have one autocrat making the decisions for everybody. That is what I meant when I said that.
Congressman, you've talked about what you'd like to see happen at the federal level. I wonder, at the state and local level, what do you think your party needs to do at this moment in our democracy when it comes to the process of elections at a time when we know independent election officials are coming under a great deal of pressure?
Well, that's why we're trying to pass these bills. You saw what Trump tried to do down in Georgia, up in Detroit, Michigan, up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, trying to get local officials to overturn the elections. And when we had the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, when that was in place, we didn't have to worry about that because either a federal court or the Justice Department would have intervened. But we don't have the protection of that anymore. That's why we're trying to pass these bills, because we need to bring that protection back. And it was the Supreme Court of the United States that asked us to update the formula and bring it back. We have updated the formula, and now the Senate has decided not to let it go forward.
In our final minute, you mentioned Dr. King. What is the one part of his legacy you hope people reflect on at this moment in our democracy?
At this moment, remember January 6th, when the people of ill will made such good use of their time, when they attacked the citadel of our democracy. I want you to remember that. And remember what King said when he said that the people of ill will were making a much better use of time than the people of goodwill. King told us time is neutral. It can be used either destructively or constructively. And we are running out of time.
South Carolina Congressman James Clyburn. Congressman Clyburn, thanks very much for your time and perspective. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.